Hello, trading has closed on February 22nd, 2018. At yesterday's close, prices had tanked into the close. Futures were down around 10 handles. And I said down or not, there was a good chance we would gap up and perhaps sharply, even though the whole formation was a negative formation. Prices kept on dropping overnight, but by the time we opened, we gapped up pretty sharply. It's first time you make a call like that, it's kind of amazing. But there's a picture at the end of the introductory chapter, or the first chapter, I think it's the introductory chapter of my book, showing the same formation like this. This is a very common formation, a wall into the close. I think it's worth recognizing because it can keep people out of trouble. Anyway, I said lower prices should print. That didn't mean they would have to print immediately. They did print by the end of the day, even though we did gap up sharply. Let's see what happened during the day. Early on, MEJT said ultimately lower prices would print. We got the minimum. Almost always it isn't enough, so in spite of the rally, we got more. MEJT says we've now made a false move down. Says to look for 2720.75. Most likely to print by tomorrow's close, and that's my call. Here's a gap. Here's a hole in the wall gap. The rule is the gap tends to fill promptly, usually within a day or so, and there's support under the gap. That's the support level. The first time the hole in the wall gap fills, support usually holds. Now sometimes it holds its resistance, meaning you go under it and then come back to that price. But because we do have a higher target tomorrow, and because tomorrow's pattern has an early high and a strong tendency to rally into the close, closing near its high most of the time, I think we're going up, and I think that number is going to print, and perhaps more than that. Here are my dates for March. I don't know if this 27th date or any of these dates will work or not. So what's going on? Well, here was the chart we showed yesterday. I thought I had it all figured out. Here's your 5 waves down. Here's your 3 waves up. Like any good technician, all we have to do is wait for another 5 waves down, collapsing prices, and just short like crazy and make all kinds of money. Instead, we have a pattern which is clearly overlapping and corrective. And the rule about overlapping corrective patterns is they tend to get retraced. We showed yesterday this was a support level. I think tomorrow's market's going to be up. The call's killed if we gap down sharply. But let's say I'm correct. How high could we go? Well, there isn't just one way to read this. Let's look at one plausible way. We'll take this low and this high, set it to 38.2%. We get 2802. That's a good rally, about 100 handles from here. Perhaps the count is this is wave A up, and that's B, and now we're making an A, B, C. If that's true, at this price, A would equal to C. Blue C would be 1.272 times A, and 78.2%, that's here, of this entire decline would be retraced. Would make a beautiful picture. So if I'm right and we start up, we at least can look for 2802 plus as a target. Now life gets more interesting than that. I don't have to be right about that, but let's assume I am. This is 2802. If that's wave 1, and 2802 ends wave 2, how high could wave 3 be? Well, it's common for wave 1 to be 61.8% of wave 3. So if that's true here, we end up around 2254 on the downside. So that would be a drop of, what is it now, 550 points, and probably in pretty short order. That would be quite spectacular if we would catch it. And what makes this number really interesting is if you take the initial drop, not the 2B bottom, but the first drop down, measure all the way up to the high, retrace 61.8%, that's the price you wind up with. So I think we're going up tomorrow. Gapping up sharply kills the call, and there are many ways things can play out after that. But if we rally up to 2802 and then drop to 2254 in pretty short order, it would certainly make a nice pretty picture. I just take things a day at a time. We look for higher prices, and that's my target, and that's today's call.